Man, what in the world is going on with the Phoenix Suns? This was a team built to dominate, a team that was supposed to be right at the top of the Western Conference fighting for a championship. Instead, they're barely keeping their heads above water, struggling just to stay in the mix for a play-in spot. Despite having three superstar caliber players in Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal, this team has been all over the place. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, their record is now 6 games below an even win-loss mark, and tensions seem to be hitting a breaking point. Durant has been caught on camera in heated exchanges with head coach Frank Vogel. Beal reportedly isn't happy with his role in the offense, and billionaire owner Matt Ishbia keeps insisting that everything is fine, when in reality, what we're seeing on the court tells a completely different story. This is not the season Phoenix fans envisioned. After the blockbuster trades, the high expectations, and the front office's aggressive win-now approach, this team wasn't supposed to be fighting for survival this late in the season. But here we are, and with only 16 games remaining, the biggest question is, where do they go from here? Because let's be honest, this roster, as expensive and star-studded as it is, has fundamental issues that can't just be ignored. So in today's video, we're diving deep into the Suns' struggles, what went wrong, why things have unraveled so quickly, and most importantly, what the front office can actually do to fix this before it spirals into an even bigger disaster. Because one thing is for certain, something's got to change, and fast. When the Suns made their blockbuster move for Kevin Durant last season, the vision was crystal clear. Bring in one of the most unstoppable scorers in NBA history, pair him with Devin Booker, and create a championship juggernaut. Then, last summer, they doubled down by adding Bradley Beal, forming what many believed would be one of the most lethal offensive trios in the league. On paper, it sounded like an unbeatable formula. 3 elite scorers, all capable of taking over games, surrounded by a supporting cast built to complement their skill sets. In reality, it's been an absolute mess. Instead of dominance, this team has been riddled with injuries, plagued by inconsistency, and at times, completely dysfunctional. February was a nightmare as the Suns stumbled to a brutal 3-10 record. And as of now, they're sitting 2.5 games behind the Dallas Mavericks for the final play-in spot. That's not just disappointing, it's catastrophic for a team with the highest payroll in NBA history. This roster was built to compete for championships, not scrape and claw, just to make the postseason. But the issues go way beyond the losses. The chemistry isn't there. Reports have surfaced about head coach Mike Budenholzer having disagreements with multiple players, including franchise star Devin Booker. Meanwhile, Bradley Beal, who was supposed to be a key piece of this big three, was benched earlier in the season, fueling speculation that the team might be trying to push him toward accepting a trade. And then there's Kevin Durant. Not only has he had to deal with constant roster instability, but at the trade deadline, he found out his name was actually being floated in discussions. The Suns reportedly even reached out to the Warriors to see if there was any possibility of a reunion, a move that KD himself quickly shot down. But the fact that Phoenix was even entertaining that idea, that speaks volumes. It's a clear sign that this front office knows what the rest of us can see. This roster, as currently constructed, is deeply flawed, and unless something changes, they're not going anywhere. So, what's next for the Suns? Do they tear everything down and start from scratch? Or do they tweak the roster and give this so-called super team one more shot at making it work? If you ask Matt Ishbia, the answer is pretty clear. He's not about to sit through a long, painful rebuild. The man is aggressive, and he's made it obvious that he wants to win now. He didn't push all his chips in just to turn around and start over. That means the most likely path forward is a retool, not a reset. And the one thing we know for sure, Devin Booker isn't going anywhere. He's the franchise cornerstone, the one player this front office sees as untouchable. While there were trade talks involving Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal before the deadline, the belief within the organization is that Phoenix isn't as far from contention as their record suggests. But that raises the biggest question: how do they actually fix this? Here's the blueprint. 1, bolster depth and defense. If there's one glaring issue with this team, it's the lack of reliable role players, especially on the defensive end. The supporting cast simply isn't getting the job done. Grayson Allen, Jusuf Nurkic, and Eric Gordon have had their moments, but they're not the difference makers Phoenix needs. The Suns desperately need length, toughness, and defensive versatility. Players who can take some of the burden off Booker, Durant, and Beal instead of leaving them to do all the heavy lifting. 2. Find a legitimate playmaker. This offense is way too reliant on isolation basketball. It's essentially just Booker, Durant, or Beal taking turns going one-on-one, and that's not sustainable over a full season. They signed Tyus Jones last summer to help facilitate, but they still don't have a true floor general who can dictate tempo and consistently create open looks for others. If they want this big three to function properly, adding a real point guard has to be a top priority. Figure out the future of Beal and KD. Now here's where things get tricky. Both Durant and Beal were in trade discussions before the deadline, and those talks will almost certainly resurface this summer. The front office has to make a tough decision. Do they keep both and hope it finally clicks? Or do they shake things up? Beal's situation is complicated because of his no-trade clause. He has the power to veto any deal, meaning the Suns can't just move him at will. Durant, on the other hand, doesn't have that same protection. And if Phoenix misses the playoffs entirely, there will be serious pressure to make a drastic move. Trading KD could bring back multiple assets, giving the Suns a more balanced, well-rounded roster instead of a top-heavy one that lacks depth. One thing is for certain, this team as currently constructed isn't working. Whether it's a few tweaks or a major shakeup, changes are coming. And after the way this season has played out, they can't afford to run it back and expect different results. So, where do the Suns go from here? Technically, they still have a shot at making the play-in tournament, but even if they sneak in, does anyone actually believe this team is a real threat? A squad that was built to compete for a championship is now struggling just to stay afloat. That's not how this was supposed to go. But here's the thing, it's not over yet. Devin Booker remains one of the best all-around players in the league. Kevin Durant, even in his mid-30s, is still an elite scorer who can take over games. And Matt Ishbia, he's shown he's not afraid to spend whatever it takes to chase a title. The Suns don't have to blow it all up. They just have to be smarter with how they build around their stars. If they can reshape the roster, improve their depth, and potentially move one of their big names to create a more balanced team, there's still a path to success. But time is running out. If next season ends up looking anything like this one, then yeah. At that point, blowing it all up might not just be an option. It might be a necessity. But what do you think? Should the Suns keep pushing forward with this big three and try to fix the roster? Or is it time to make a major move and part ways with Durant or Beal? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support. You all are the real MVPs. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.